Giannis Antetokounmpo is coming off of some of his best offensive seasons we've seen in his career. Over the past few seasons, averaging over 30 points per game, a dozen rebounds, and about 6.5 assists. And I think we can all collectively agree that this might be the worst collection of talent Giannis has ever played with. But what if I told you a 10-game stretch that happened in late March is why I think the Milwaukee Bucks will be one of the better regular season offenses this next season? I don't think it's hard necessarily to build a really good offense around Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're talking about a guy who's improved as a playmaker, always generates rim pressure, and plays really well out of transition. If you put a lot of really good shooters around him, I think an offense like this could be fantastic. And from March 20th to April 13th, Giannis Antetokounmpo averaged 31 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 8.5 assists, getting to the free throw line 6 times or more on 61% from the field. And this 10-game stretch is simply why I think the Bucks will be one of the better regular season offenses in the league. If Giannis Antetokounmpo can stay healthy and play 35 to 38 minutes a night, I think this Bucks offense is going to be a force. And this all starts with Giannis Antetokounmpo being one of the best downhill threats in the league, whether it's with the ball in his hand or out of his hand. There's not a single person that matches his strength and speed when being able to get downhill as consistently as he does. He's one of the best transition players in the league, and he can bring the ball up the floor and make decisions. And I want you guys to watch this clip right here. We're going to find out when the Hawks automatically gave up 2 points in this clip. Giannis Antetokounmpo matches up with Dyson Daniels as soon as he crosses the half-court line. As you can see, Dyson Daniels can't take all the strength and speed, so they switch. But with the time it took them to switch is the same amount of time it took Giannis to build a head of steam to the basket, and that's one of the hardest things to stop in the entire league. And this is why I say spacing the floor does not always consist of shooting. You can't give Giannis all this space to build a head of steam and get to the rim. Even in a setting like this when they're running an inverted pick and roll, Pat Connaughton's going to pop out for the three-point shot. Even with 3 people on Giannis, he's able to finish around the basket. I'm going to read off some of the shooters that the Milwaukee Bucks have on their roster. You have Taurean Prince, who shot 44% from 3 on 4 attempts. You have AJ Green, who shot 43% on 5 attempts. You have Gary Trent Jr., who shot 41% on 6 attempts. And you have Miles Turner, who shot 40% on 6 attempts. And I know these names aren't eye-popping. These aren't the type of names that you would want around Giannis Antetokounmpo if you were trying to build a championship team. But if you were going to build a team with no all-stars around Giannis Antetokounmpo, these would probably be some of the archetype of players that you would put around him. Really good spot-up shooters, really good relocators, really good screeners. And luckily, we saw a 10-game sample size of how this offense could look when Damian Lillard went down towards the end of the season. Let's just take a look at how Giannis runs in transition. The longer you go without picking him up, the harder it's going to be to stop him at the rim. Look at that, that's a force. Throughout this entire 10-game stretch, the Bucks used any way possible to get Giannis a downhill lane to the basket. Even if it was setting screens at almost the half-court line to build a head of steam for Giannis to get downhill. Whatever they could do to get Giannis a good look at the rim with a full head of steam, they were going to try it. If you wanted to use Giannis as a downhill threat by letting him bring the ball up the floor and just run like a chicken with his head cut off, you could do that as well. But this offense would not reach its potential if Giannis did not reach the level of playmaking he has over the past few seasons. Being able to constantly create rim pressure and have the defense collapse on command is very valuable, and having the ability to see over defenders standing at 6'11" and make reads that you weren't making in previous years is extremely valuable for how this Bucks offense is going to shoot threes, play in transition, and get downhill. I'm 100% sure that the Bucks offense is going to consist of a lot of inverted pick and rolls, a lot of very high pick and rolls, and being extremely aggressive on the defensive side so they can get Giannis Antetokounmpo in transition. And I think a more underrated move the Milwaukee Bucks have done this offseason was signing Miles Turner. I think his mobility, his three-point shooting, and his pick and roll game is really going to add another dimension to what the Milwaukee Bucks could do this season. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a 40% three-point shooter, especially out of spot-ups and pick-and-pop opportunities. He's a really good shooter in the corner, and he can run the transition and be a lob threat for Giannis. And something very important to how this offense is going to be ran is Giannis's mid-range. With the limited amount of ball handlers and offensive talents anywhere near the level he is, they're going to wall up the paint as much as they possibly can and dare guys to make threes consistently. And Giannis adding that fadeaway or pull-up mid-range shot to his game has really made it much easier for him to generate offense. Last season, from 10 to 16 feet, Giannis Antetokounmpo only had 7% of his shots coming from that range. And this past season, that jumped all the way up to 10%. Last year, he was shooting 32% from 10 to 16 feet, and this year he's shooting 48%. And last year, from 16 feet to three-point range, he only shot 7% of his shots from that area as well, and this season, it jumped all the way up to 15%. Last year, he was shooting 37% out of those areas, and this year, he's shooting 44%. And I know this isn't as crazy as a lot of people would seem. I know Giannis isn't going to be a mid-range killer, but having that as a counter for a defense that's going to expand their size and wall up around the rim against the Bucks team that is very limited offensively outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, this is definitely something that can keep the defenses on their toes. So I would project the starting lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks would probably be Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent, Kyle Kuzma, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Miles Turner. But if Doc Rivers could do this correctly, I think they can get very, very versatile with what they can do with Giannis Antetokounmpo. They can have him at the 5 spot and just put a whole bunch of shooters with guys like AJ Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Taurean Prince, and Gary Trent and just run up and down the floor the entire game. They can put Bobby Portis in the game with Giannis and then add Taurean Prince, Gary Trent, and AJ Green just so you can have the 3-point shooting and the rebounding. There's so much different things you can do with this lineup to get as much as you can out of this team offensively, because defensively they're going to be terrible. But I 100% think that the Bucks offense lies on the skill set of Giannis and how much he can hold up throughout the regular season. If Giannis Antetokounmpo can play 70 plus games for the Milwaukee Bucks, I definitely think they can be a top 10 offense in the NBA and win a lot of regular season games. And I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to have a career year offensively again. This is a guy who averaged 30 points in 3 straight seasons, a guy that rebounds the ball, gets out in transition, and now is the best he's ever been as a playmaker. So my keys to the Bucks offense would be get in transition, build as much lanes for Giannis to get downhill as possible, knock down open threes, and run as much 3-point lineups as you possibly can. And if the Milwaukee Bucks can stick to this game plan, I think they can be one of the better offenses in the regular season and be a potential top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. Giannis Antetokounmpo is still a top 3 player in the NBA, and I think he's going to carry out a season like 33 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists a night, given how much he's going to have the ball in his hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATBSports1. Make sure you guys join into my playback room where we watch old games consistently throughout the offseason at @TheBuzzerSports. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at @TheBuzzerSports_ and follow me on TikTok at @TheBuzzerENT. And with all that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.